Amnesty International is calling for urgent measures to be taken to ensure police deal effectively with sexual and gender-based violence cases. The group says that despite the country's progressive legal landscape, these crimes are still stubbornly high. Amnesty International South Africa spokesperson Genevieve Quintal joins us now for more on this. Genevieve, a very good evening to you. I don't know if you were able to hear before we came to you. We played out words by President Ramaphosa today at the National Commemoration for Women's Day, where he was talking about bringing gender-based violence to an end through the implementation of the National Strategic Plan that's meant to target the issue and femicide. Is that cold comfort on this anniversary?
Unfortunately, it is, Thembekile, and thank you so much for having us. I think it's been 2 years since the discussion of this, of bringing together this council, and we're still actually waiting for something to happen. Our big issue right now is the fact that we believe that police are not investigating these cases properly. So these cases are not being prosecuted, which means perpetrators, there's no deterrent for perpetrators who know if they perpetrate these crimes are not actually going to find themselves facing the courts. We've seen on a number of occasions, a number of cases where the National Prosecuting Authority goes to court or doesn't go to court because there's not enough evidence to prosecute. And, you know, the failure of the police to do their job is not a new thing. As we said, the UN Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women in 2021 said, and they expressed concern, and they actually said that by the failure by the South African Police Service to systematically investigate, prosecute, and adequately punish the negligence and mishandling of cases by police officers, which just shows you there's no accountability for those who aren't doing their jobs properly, and that's what we're trying to highlight today.
And how do we go from calling for an improvement in police investigative work in these cases to it actually becoming a reality? Because every few weeks we hear of a woman who's been raped, who's been murdered, similarly with children, and there's outrage. If the case gets enough attention, the police minister will drive to the family home, the community, etc. Yet once all of that is done, we're back to square one almost.
Absolutely. So actually we need an overhaul of the way the SAPs conduct their investigations. That is where the issue is. Research by the Medical Research Council found that the highest rate of attrition of reported rape cases is in the criminal justice system at the SAPS level. So without SAPS conducting thorough investigations, as I said, the NPA cannot successfully prosecute. Crimes continue with impunity. So we need an overhaul of the way the SAPS are actually doing the investigations. And if police officers are not doing investigations properly, they need to be held accountable for that. And that's what we're calling for, accountability. Because if we keep letting this slip and we keep coming with these, oh, well, the NPA can't prosecute, oh, there's not enough evidence. What is happening at an investigation stage? Is there someone who's not doing their job properly? And those people need to be held accountable. That is the first step to ensuring that our criminal justice system actually works, is that we have thorough and proper investigations. Otherwise, we're going to keep just going in circles on this and nothing's ever going to happen because, as I said, perpetrators can continue with impunity.
Police then come back and say their investigative work is only as good as the cooperation of the people sometimes who bring the case forward. They say, for example, in cases of domestic violence, they encounter a lot of women who will come in, let's say, on a Saturday and say, I would like to lay or have a case opened against my partner, etc., only for the story to change or for the woman to try and withdraw the matter. Do you think that's a bit of a lazy excuse, if you will, for the ineffectiveness of the system?
Absolutely. I mean, we also know that the reported cases is nothing near to the actual cases. The trust in the police is very low in this country. And absolutely, I think that is a lazy excuse. It doesn't matter. We're talking about cases that are actually taken forward. Where we had a case, Poppy and Bongeka, 2 young women murdered in 2017 in Soweto. And to this day, there has been no prosecution. We advocated for it since 2020. The police reopened the case. It went back to the NPA for a second time. The NPA again last month told us that they didn't have enough evidence to prosecute. They are going to send it to an inquest. But however, you know, there are a number of things that happened in that case. There were shoddy investigations. Their possessions were found on people. And yet here we are almost 5 years later and still no prosecution. there's definitely an issue when it comes to investigations. And I'm not saying that all cases are not investigated properly or that all police officers are not doing their job properly. But those who aren't doing their job properly need to be held accountable for that.
And when you hear from the likes of the Justice Minister and the reporting, for example, to Parliament, and the Police Minister, I think, has said similarly that, majority of what comes through at police station level, the Justice Department will tell you that once it gets to court, they've got more successful convictions in areas where they have failed. How do we balance those two experiences, right? You've got at community level women who say they simply don't trust police to do well, to investigate. They don't believe that the court system will deal with the issue fast enough, because even if your matter is enrolled, it may take a year, 2, 3, or maybe even 4 years for it to reach its conclusion. Yet in the reporting, officials say, look, the numbers say we're making strides.
Numbers are cold comfort, Thembekile, to families who still have not had any justice, who are still wondering what happened to their loved ones, who are still waiting for the perpetrators to be brought to book. Numbers aren't people, and we hear more and more stories. I think we've all seen reports of people who are still waiting for justice, and that's cold comfort for people. I think we need to be taken more seriously now. I think SAPS need to show us that they are more serious. The police commissioner, the police minister, and again, those who are not doing their jobs properly need to be held accountable. Otherwise, we're never going to come to a conclusion on this. Not that we're ever going to come to a conclusion on this, but also we're not saying that this is the only issue with gender-based violence. There's obviously a ream of issues that when it comes to gender-based violence, but this is one of those that could actually act as a deterrent for perpetrators, and that's why we're fighting so hard for there to be accountability.
Amnesty International South Africa's Genevieve Quintal, good to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time tonight.